Hello, Meoni here, and welcome to another summary of a live letter. This is part 77, which is the second part of the 6.4 preview. Yoshi P has been playing a lot of the new Zelda game and proudly shows this off at the start of the stream with his Switch. I'm sure many of the people watching this right now are probably doing the same. So let's go through this detail, analysis and summary. The live letter starts with the 6.4 trailer, which has to be seen by your eyes, I think. It's very spoilerific, so I'll leave that to you. But holy moly, one of the things I can show is this one scene here with the Island Sanctuary, one frame from the trailer, which I don't think is really much of a spoiler. There are actually links on the screen here. Of course, there will be in the description as well, so you can watch each of your regional language version of the trailer in your own time. 6.4 then, The Dark Throne has a release date of Tuesday, May the 23rd, so mark your calendars. Next, they have a quick recap of what's actually in 6.4, so let's go through this, including, of course, the new main storyline for 6.4. This, as you can see here, though, with this new part of the side quest series Tataru's Grand Endeavors, there's actually a requirement to have completed patch 6.1's first quest with her, and indeed the Sorrow of Wurlit storyline. So make sure you get that trial series done from Shadowbringers to be able to continue this quest line. Hildebrand isn't coming out until 6.45, however in 6.45 you'll have more quests with Hildy, and indeed the next part of the Relic Weapon upgrade series. Not much of the upgrade methods will change. Please enjoy the content you like while upgrading your weapons, end quote from Yoshi P on that. Also in 6.45 is the next step of the Splendorous tools as well, so look forward to that. 6.4 has a new trial associated with the MSQ. The new dungeon, also known as the Aethathont, is in here, as well as an extreme version of the trial to unlock via the Wandering Minstrel after you complete the normal mode. Zurvan makes his debut as an Unreal trial in 6.4, filled presumably with new rewards from the Fantastic Mr. Foe storyline. And you'll find that in Idleshire. Pandemonium Anabasios is in 6.4, the finality of this raid series. The Savage unlocks 1 week after 6.4 has been released, much like last time. This is then to be the last raid in a series for this expansion, so look forward to it. I hope it's good as well. The new Variant and Criterion dungeon then is known as Mount Rockon, if you didn't know about that. This is the second in a series of Criterion and Variant mode dungeons. You don't have to have completed the previous ones, so there's no prerequisite for that, and you can go straight into the new one. Normal, Criterion, and Savage difficulties are available. Stormblood duty support NPCs will be available in 6.4 for the MSQ dungeons for Stormblood. This includes Siren Song C, Bardam's Metal, Doma Castle, Castrum Abania, and Alamigo, which is pretty cool. In 6.4, we also have some job adjustments, PvP adjustments, frontline adjustments, Blue Mage updates with a level cap of level 80 for Blue Mage, new gear, new carnival enemies, new spells, new duties, as well as new Blue Mage log activities associated with those. Ocean fishing gets new zones much closer to Kagane, which presumably means the Ruby Sea, and Island Sanctuary updates. There's also some misc updates with a new tombstone being called the Allegan Tome of Comedy. Fairy Glamours for Scholars will allow you to make fairies into carbuncles. Gear sets will now be just default maximum up to 100 for every character in the game, regardless of progress, which is quite nice. And job icons will be displayed next to players in the chat log and on player nameplates within party dungeons and alliances. Transaction fees will be shown on the overall price of an item on the market board. This is to kind of make it easier to see instead of the funds being separated, wondering where most of your money went, so you can see how much something cost in total. Glasses as well as wing accessories will be usable in combat and visible in the overworld currently, with a hope to open it up for more in the future, fingers crossed. But previously they just talked about wings, but it means glasses will be usable in combat as well, so if you're doing some hunt trains, you'll be able to flap around with some cool looking wings. Items stored in a variety of locations, they say, can now be selected when casting glamours in an in-room. This makes it possible then to glamour from your dresser and armoire without actually using them. but you still need to be inside the in-room, so think of that what you will. Yoshi P says, and I quote here, the reason the dresser and the armoire are not implemented with each other is rather simple. We developed them at completely different times, and the people responsible for the code were also different. And for the coders in the audience, I probably don't have to explain how much trouble it is to work through someone else's code, end quote. So there we go, we've got a reason for that. On to the main meat and potatoes of this live letter then, new stuff. In regards to job adjustments, they say they primarily made balance adjustments to the damage output within each role. No large-scale changes are being implemented, and those are being saved for the next expansion 7.0. They did, however, extend the radius of several party buffs to 30 yards maximum. Mainly this applies to buffs and abilities that contribute to increase damage dealt or reduce damage taken. Yoshi P says, and I quote, "You can reach players that are further away. This does not, however, include things like heal range. It is only about party buffs, so your black mage still has to be close. No chat, ley lines won't be 30 meters radius," end quote. So there we go, that answers that immediately. I had questions. Improved usability of certain job actions is the next bit. Paladin's execution of atonement will no longer interrupt a combo. That's pretty cool. And Dragoon's high jump and jump will no longer affect the character's position as recognized by the server. In accordance with this change, both actions can now be performed while bound. Some quality of life job changes then. Yoshi P says, "We are thinking about implementing these Dragoon changes in 7.0, but we decided to have them implemented now. It will still look like you're jumping, but your coordinates will not be moving, so no risk of jumping into any AoEs," end quote. Very cool stuff. I'm glad they brought that forward. PvP changes then in 6.4 Series 4 will begin with lots of new rewards on the in-game battle pass, and Season 7 of the ranked crystalline conflict will begin. They say beginning in Season 7, players who place within the top 100 rankings of Diamond tier and above will receive additional rewards, including an item that will allow them to apply an effect to Hellhound weapons, which looks like this. It applies red flames to the Hellfire weapons. If you're in your top 100, you get this. Frontline adjustments then. There are new UI elements implemented, displaying match time and score in a banner at the top of your screen. Yoshi P says if you don't like this, you can change it back in the settings menu to the old layout if you wish. Additionally, adjustments to the limit gauge fill rate, damage done, damage taken will be changed on a job per job basis, so watch out for those adjustments. The daily Frontline challenge will also give Series EXP now, which it didn't before. Borderlands Ruin Secure will be made temporarily unavailable for this patch cycle, and Fields of Glory Shatter has had quite considerable changes. There are changes to terrain and placement of icebound tome lifts, as illustrated in this diagram. The data, i.e. the score acquisition, has also been adjusted, so Allegan tome lifts have been removed and thus can no longer be occupied for data. Large and small icebound tome lifts will now respawn, so the data required from defeating other players is unchanged. So basically you just have to kill lots of players and wait for the big ones. It's as simple as that. The Voidcast Deus trial. Yoshi P goes into the game to show us a little more of this fight, probably a little too much. A big red sort of floaty square floating above what appears to be the moon is where we fight the boss, reminding me a little bit of Thordan, actually, if you look at that background from Heavensward, with a good mixture of Hades-like mechanics and a few others. I can't wait to see that firsthand, personally. And then look at these weapon design contest winners finally in the game. Holy crap, they look incredible. So these are actually what they might look like in game. I know it's hard to tell off of these illustrations, but these are the new tombstone weapons. Yes, that's right. So the people who won the contests for the weapon designs, your weapons are being immortalized in the game as tombstone weapons. That is such a cool thing to have happen. Congratulations to the amazing designers. I love it. Also, they developed inside the dev team some armor to go with these, which will be the tome armor, which is sort of cool depending on your tastes and is going to vary depending, but I like some of these. Now a look at the new raid then, Anabasios. They show us the first boss in the game. It's called Cositus. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. That's the English name of the boss, apparently. And I'll read some quotes. Yoshi P says, "See those lines? They are very close inside. So that means you're going to be using the outside part of the arena? Maybe." Foxconn says, "What's this? A new marker?" You saw a bleed debuff in normal mode. I don't think Savage will leave it at a bleed debuff. So there's going to be 4 floors, and the 4th floor felt harsh, he says, but I think it might be a little difficult even in normal mode. The floors keep changing too. I can't show you further than P9, but arenas and the directions the bosses go are very different each floor, end quote. So I'm really looking forward to that. Of course, Savage will, of course, unlock 1 week after the launch of 6.4. And yeah, the Savage rewards are changing as well. So coffers will not reward duplicate armor pieces for the same slot anymore. And body gear will be earnable from the 11th fight and not the 12th. Meaning that obviously you can get a chest piece much sooner than you normally would. A single treasure coffer will appear at the end of each Anabasio Savage encounter. And these rewards will be reduced if 1 to 4 players have already completed the duty. There will be no rewards if 5 or more players have completed it that week. So basically, no real changes there. The only change is there's 1 chest instead of 2, but the chest has the same amount of things in it as previously would be there. So it's basically the same, just kind of there's just 1 coffer. That's all you need to really remember. There is actually a change to the exchange rates of Mythos tome book thingies that you get upon clearing Savage. As you can see now, it is much cheaper to get gear from your clear books. So every time you clear, you have less weeks to wait to get gear via exchange. Yoshi P says, and I quote, "Since I want everyone to tackle a lot of content and play other games too, I just didn't want this to feel like it will take forever and you're bound to raiding in 14. There are so many other games coming out in May and June," end quote. And then also another quote, "Chat is asking if I changed this just to be friendly with Final Fantasy 16. No, we will try to keep it this way for the future," end quote. It's also mentioned here that you can change books from the 4th floor for books of any of the other 3 floors for a 1-to-1 rate, which sounds kind of counterproductive, apart from maybe gearing alternate classes. I don't know. But yeah. So they have a quick little break, and then after the break we see a new picture of some of the raid gear. Specifically, I think it looks pretty cool. It's nothing groundbreaking in my tastes, but yours may vary. You might love this stuff. Very cool stuff. I like some of the weapons, so those look nice. Now we're on to Island Sanctuary updates, which is what I've been looking forward to. These include new Sanctuary ranks and visions, new gathering areas in the wilds, new construction plots and hideaway, new item rewards, new materials, craftable items, crops, animals and ironworks, handicrafts, and new structures. Support for outdoor furnishings has also been added, and furnishings can be placed near structures. A maximum of 90 slots can be unlocked via Island Sanctuary progression. Special furnishings like striking dummies and gardens are not supported. So furnishings in your inventory may be placed on your island now as glamours, and furnishing placed as glamours will be bound to you, but not consumed on use. Thus, multiple glamours can be placed based on a single item, which means you can have like 4 of the same chair without having 4 chairs in your inventory, which is pretty cool. Island prisms, which is the currency used, may be used to register these furnishings, allowing you to place them even when not held in your inventory, but registering them does bind them to your character, so bear that in mind. The number of these island prisms you yield from crafting will be increased in the future, they say, so don't worry about that if it looks a little low. You may also change the colour of furnishings with dyes, and Yoshi P shows off this feature in the game. This blue line kind of shows you where you can place items in the hideaway. Seems fairly self-explanatory and simple in my opinion, and the fact that you can place multiple of something even if you don't have more than one is just awesome in my opinion. Foxconn says, so anything you have added to your list you don't need to have in your inventory anymore. Yoshi P says, yes, I'm reading people wanted to use their island sanctuary as a dump for their garden furnishings. Sorry, we didn't even have that in mind when making this, lol. End quote. For clarification then, the 120 slots of storage is for the list of items you can save as glamours, but you can place 90 items on the item total, island total, if I could speak. Now they show new rewards from the Island Sanctuary. First of all, this dapper looking steampunk-like outfit, I think, is a good way to explain that. Very nice stuff. And also this, which is what looks more like sort of casual island gear again with palm trees. Very nice stuff. I do like that. I'd wear that in real life. Some new housing items then to go with this. Rustic-looking tables and church pew-type sort of seats and arches for indoors. And this lovely looking outdoors veranda deck thing. I love how they're putting items together to sort of save placement slot space. It looks really great in my opinion, and also showing this swing seat with foliage atop. Great stuff. I can't wait to put that on my island sanctuary. Next, a look then at Mount Rockon and the new variant and Criterion dungeon. There are no role restrictions if you've never done this before. Job changes inside are permitted. This is for 1 to 4 players, the casual player at level 90, and the enemy strength will change determined by your party size, and the route of progression branches based on your player actions. They say explore the mysteries of Mount Rockon alongside a certain someone. Experience a different story depending on your chosen path. All stories may be enjoyed as usual on multiple playthroughs. Once again, we have the variant actions, which are duty action buttons to compensate for role imbalances caused by the lack of role restrictions, and you can choose 2 of these, so you want a heal and a raise probably, at a time with the ability to change them mid-duty. They also have recast timers, but no other limitations on their usage. They also cannot be changed in combat or when they're on cooldown, so bear that in mind, and here's a list of them all as well on screen, which, you know, is fairly self-explanatory like last time. Criterion mode then is the slightly higher difficulty one, which is the level 90 high level challenge for 4-player parties. The party must comprise of a tank, healer, and 2 DPS, and visually very similar to the variant mode, but overall structure and enemy strength is, you know, entirely different. It's going to be a little bit harder. The route is predetermined in Criterion mode, and in this mode you get no NPCs to accompany you, so you're on your own. And then finally there's the Savage mode, which as usual is harder. Normal resurrection is prohibited. Each player is given access to variant raised 2, but all other variant actions can no longer be accessed on that mode. It's a pre-made party of 4 players, but the enemies get harder the longer they survive without defeat, so the idea is to be precise, strong, and quickly achieving this. All of this is basically exactly the same as the previous dungeon that existed, but it was worth just going over again, I think. Here's a couple of screens then from inside the game on this mode. The NPC accompanying you seems to be Hancock, and once again there are 12 story branches to unlock, with presumably a reward for doing all 12 again. Last time we got a mount. A choice of 3 paths at the start again is your first decision to make, filled with enemies and storyline, then bosses. It's the same as the other variants if you've done those before, and obviously with a different look and feel and some awesome nostalgic Stormblood music. Looks beautiful, to be honest. They actually showed a first boss off, which I think was showing too much personally, which was a ninja with lots of AoEs to avoid. Holy moly, there's a lot. It's cool to see the boss do these like cherry blossom explosion things. I can't wait to play it in the game. Next, some rewards from doing this then. There's actually glamours from doing this, specifically 2. It looks like one's male, one's female. I'm not sure if they're definitely gender locked or not. Citation needed in the future, but those are the glamour rewards from doing it this time around. Now then, we've got new crafted sets. That's what those look like. There's some nice stuff, depending on your tastes, of course. I think my favourite is this purple mage stuff, which I guess is white mage, or I don't know, it could be black mage or something. I like some of these with varying sort of degrees of likiness. I don't know, let me know what you think about them. So moving on to new mounts then, the really important bit. First is a bed with plushies on it, which, I mean, we've had a bed mount before that we could craft, but never this adorable. I cannot wait to see that flying around in the game. And then we have the cutest thing I've ever seen, an axolotl mount, which, I mean, that has to be ocean fishing or island sanctuary, surely. I think it's going to be ocean fishing. There needs to be something, right? I love that. I can't wait to get that. And then there's this amazing yokai sort of lantern. Like, it looks like a yokai spirit has inhabited a lantern and brought it to life, and a big tongue, and your character sits inside of it. Cannot wait for that. And then we got another mandragora to add to the mandragora list, of course, which is slightly less impactful when we see the others before it, but it's still nice regardless. And then we get another Laporit designed rabbit robot that's pretty cool actually, which we ride sort of piggyback style on the back of it. And then when it transforms into flight mode, it looks like a little rocket with a propeller. Absolutely brilliant. I hope we get more of those. Next, the minions then, which I personally love. We've got a monkey, which is pretty brilliant. I can't wait to see what interactions that has. And a floating doll thing that I forgot the name of, but it's like a national treasure, isn't it, in Japan? Somebody else correct me in the comments. And probably the best minion of the patch, which is this steampunk otter with his little lantern. That is adorable. I need it now. And then finally they show off this ninja sort of shinobi dog, which is sort of like with a little ninja symbol on its mask there on the head, a hood thing, which is awesome. The more good boys we have in the game, the better, in my opinion. I can't wait to collect all of those. All right, that's pretty much it for the main meat and potatoes. We've got some announcements. First, they talk about FanFest with just the dates on screen. Then they talk about how on YouTube and Twitch, the staged events from FanFest, minus the concert, unfortunately, will be streamed from FanFest North America for you to watch wherever you are in the world. And they'll give more details on that in the future. Next, they show this, and unfortunately, this went down a little bit poorly. During the live stream. They say attendees of the FanFest will get to try out a new trial early before everyone else. This is something coming to the game in the future. This is early access to it, to playtest. They've done this before. I mean, we had this with the stuff that eventually went into Unscathed with the Proto Ultima fight. Originally, that was a trial that you could do at a FanFest, and then they turned it into a battle inside Unscathed. But this is the first time they've announced it like this, and I think that's the problem. However, it is called the Gilded Araya, and I cannot wait to see what that's like at FanFest Europe, so I'll let you know and see if we can take some pictures or something. I don't know. We'll see. Additionally, Foxclon and Yoshi P will be, as usual, on the live streams on YouTube and Twitch on Monday before the patch goes live with their patch note reading stream. So if you want to see that, there's the details on screen. They say the 6.4 maintenance will not last 24 hours, so that's something, I guess. Next up, a little advert for the Immerse Game Pack. Gets a 2.0 update in 6.4, apparently offering improvements to the sound library and further depth and clarity to the environmental audio. You can see more on the link on screen if you want to try that out. They talk about Final Fantasy 16, obviously, Yoshi P's other job. Pre-orders are obviously open. If you've yet to check out Final Fantasy 16, then there are tons of trailers and indeed deep dive videos if you want to see more about the game on their official channels, so be sure to check that out. Personally, I think people have seen probably enough by this point. I just want the game to be out. And and Yoshi P says, with this last quote, that is all we wanted to discuss during today's PLL, but this also means the next PLL will be held during the North American FanFest, end quote. So there we go. 6.4 on the horizon. Cannot wait for that patch. It's looking very meaty, lots of stuff in there to get stuck into. This was a 3-hour broadcast brought to you in just over 20 minutes. So there we go. Hopefully I did a good job. If I did, leave a like. If I didn't, then I don't know, dislike it. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.